Hi everyone, welcome to Good for the Game TV and this preview of Stage 4 of the Vuelta Espana, one of my favorite grand tours and cycling races of the year. Well, we've seen plenty of action already over the first 3 days of this event. Some of the big name contenders dropping out, well, not dropping out of the race totally yet, but certainly dropping out of contention. The likes of Richie Port from BMC. He did come in here under not only an injury cloud, but also an illness cloud, and he clearly is not in condition to contend. And if you think that he was favourite on most books just a few days ago, a lot of punters have lost money on that one. There has indeed been quite a shake-up to the overall betting. So before we get into the stage itself, let me share my screen with you. We'll go and have a look and see what's happening on the betting markets outright. Logging onto the WSB website, we've got Nairo Quintana, the Movistar rider. He's 2-1. I've got to say that this race looks wonderfully set up for Quintana at the moment. He's got a strong team, and with the likes of Port dropping out, he's probably the strongest climber in the race. Perhaps the man just behind him in the betting, Astana's Miguel Angel Lopez, is the one man who can challenge him in the high mountains. And he's at 5-1. He did lose a little bit of time on stage 2, but he is described as something of a diesel engine, and perhaps that sort of sharp finish didn't suit him that well. Simon Yates, by all accounts, looking to peak in the final week. He is 5-1. Interesting to see how he goes. Wilco Kelderman, he is a man, there were some doubts as to whether he's been able to recover from injury, but he looked pretty good in stage 2, and he's 12-1. With Alejandro Valverde, the evergreen 38-year-old, who won stage 2 for us at 6-1 on the Good for the Game forum. Well, he's 12-1, and current GC leader Kwiatkowski from Sky, he's 14-1. Fabio Aru 16s, and we got Kreiswijk at 16 as well. Let's quickly just go back and stop sharing the screen for a second. I've got to go back onto the stage betting in a minute, but fair to say I'm under a little bit of pressure heading into this one, as the van on the Good for the Game forum pointed out. I have been on pretty good form as of late. I did back Valverde, and I also took the 18-10 Viviani in stage 3. I just didn't see anyone really competing with him in what I thought would certainly be a sprint finish. And although I was a bit worried because I didn't realize he was wearing the Italian national champions jersey, and I couldn't see any quick-step jerseys there at the end, he delivered in no uncertain fashion. So very, very happy about that one. And good to see Viviani coming in there at 18-10. Let's move on, though, to stage 4. And you know, typical of the Vuelta, they waste absolutely no time getting into the mountains. I mean, stage 2 was considered a flat stage, and those of you who watched it will know it's anything but. So just taking a look at the official Vuelta site here, we've got 2 Category 1 climbs over this 161.4 kilometer route. The first climb crucially starts at around the 50 kilometer mark. And this is going to be very important because a lot's going to depend on who gets into the break as to whether this stage will go to the break or go to the GC candidates. Now, because the stage starts off relatively flat, it might well be that we get quite a weak break going off. Guys that are not necessarily going to threaten the GC guys. And if this is the case, you'd have to expect that Sky will be happy to let the break go, and the break may well be able to get far enough out that they actually hold on for the stage win. On the other hand, if the race stays very tight together for the first 50 kilometers, there's a good chance we get a strong break going on that first climb. And if that's the case, well, then there's every chance the likes of Movistar and even Sky will not let the break go, and they'll keep it on a tight rein, which means we may well see the GC guys fight out the finish. Before we go and have a look at the betting, let's just have a little skim ahead to the actual mountain passes themselves, have a look at some of the stats. The first climb, 15.7 kilometers at 6%, so we're not messing around here, that's for sure. And moving on to the final climb, which effectively ends the stage, it's 12.4 kilometers at 5.4%. So certainly not the steepest of climbs, and we've got a lot worse coming later in the race, but it is certainly enough to be selective. And if some of the GC guys do decide to go hard, the likes of Quintana puts his Movistar team on the front, or even De La Cruz, who I still think is the #1 candidate for Sky, if he happens to put Sky on the front, I think we could see quite a lot of action on this final climb. I am, however, predicting that the final climb will be decided, or the race itself will be decided by the break. Just a quick look at the last kilometer here. It does flatten out a little bit over the last K. So, yeah, not the most decisive of final climb, but we should be in for quite a bit of entertainment there. Let's move to the betting, though. I'm going to pop across to Sunbet here, and We've got Alejandro Valverde, the winner of stage 2. He is a 14-5 favorite. That's 7-10 that he finishes in the top 3. Yeah, as I said, I don't see this one going to the GC contenders, but the bookmakers certainly do think it's more likely to be a race amongst the top men. So they price Valverde as favorite. Kwiatkowski, the current leader, at 15-2. You can get 11-1 Yates, 16-1 Pinot, 18-1 Benu, and Dan Martin, who lost a lot of time, so he could certainly be a guy who makes it into the break and possibly wins from there. He's 20-1. So quite a bit of a wide open betting heat, in my opinion. I certainly wouldn't be touching any of the favorites because I do think that this is going to a break, and that's why I'm looking a little bit further down the list. Now, the first guy that I spotted here is Alessandro Del Marchi. He's a BMC rider. BMC have, of course, had a terrible tour so far. It really hasn't gone well for them. So you could expect them to get at least one, possibly two riders in the break. Del Marchi, he's a good climber, and he's won stages of the Vuelta before. I have to give him a strong chance there at 22-1. I won't be placing any top 3 bets on this stage because for me, it's sort of a hit and miss stage. You're either going to catch the guy in the break or you're not. And I don't want to, for example, be backing Del Marchi for a top 3 at 6-1, and he A, doesn't make the break, or B, perhaps the break is caught if it's considered too strong by some of the leading teams. So just a small bet here for me, 22-1 Del Marchi. I'm going to pull across back to the World Sports betting site now because my other riders that I fancy a little bit of are slightly bigger price there. Starting with Dylan Tiens, who's 33-1. He also rides for BMC, so a very strong chance he gets into the break as well. And Tiens, yeah, well, I could tell you that I was watching Sunbet. They were the first out with the betting from what I could see, and you could get 80-1 on Tiens as soon as the betting opened. But I didn't even have time to really consider logging in and getting the bet down. And he shortened there to 25-1. But there is 33-1 available with WSB. And if we skim a little bit further down the page, up-and-coming rider riding for Bahrain Merida, 66-1. Nibali not in contention for the win, so he should have plenty of freedom. That's Mark Padun, and he is 66-1. So small win interest for those guys for me. I did have a look at the match bets as well. We'll have a quick look at the matchups, but I don't know if anything catches your eye there, but nothing really jumped off the page for me. I do think Valverde will beat Kwiatkowski tomorrow, but clearly the 1-3 odds are not enough to entice me to get involved there. Let's then sum up the stage then from a betting perspective. The composition of the break is going to be absolutely crucial. Will it be a strong break? In which case, there's a good chance the GC boys chase it down. If the weaker break gets away, I think it's going to go through right to the end. I give the break, personally, a better than even chance of staying away. I do think this one will go to the break, and I'm going to have small bets on strong climbers who are not a threat to the overall general classification. Del Marchi, 22-1. I've only looked at Sunbet and WSB at this stage. You get that at Sunbet. Padun at 66-1. You can get that at WSB. And Tiens, 33-1. Also at WSB. The reason he's bottom of the list is at the time when I was going to put him up, he was as big as 80-1. Very small bets there. If we're talking unit terms, I'll probably be having sort of between the three of them about 1.5 units down. I'm not going to do too much damage. I certainly don't want to eat into some of the profits that I've had on the opening stages. And just got to get back to these PowerPoint slides have me going, but I've just got to get back to the main screen. So yeah, thanks for joining us. It should be a good stage. We're going to be linking up with the likes of Chris Sturdy and Hyde Dumont over the coming stages. Not every stage, we won't preview each one, but if we find some of the big mountain stages we think have good appeal from a betting perspective, then we'll certainly get involved. But it should be a great stage tomorrow. Have a look down the list. Maybe have a go at a couple of my roughies, but come up with your own picks. I know Hein de Mont, Couch Critic, he likes Omar Fraile. He's about 66-1. Not sure which bookmaker's at it, but it's a type of stage where you can really just try and find the guys in the break, have a go, and there's a good chance that one of them will contest the finish. Thanks very much for watching. You can subscribe to all of our videos by clicking below this video, and we look forward to seeing you later at the week, if not for a Volta stage preview, and certainly for our flagship betting show at 9 o'clock on Thursday night. And of course, don't forget, we're going to have GG Gaming Gone Mad. We're still to finalize the time of exactly when that show will go out. Enjoy the Vuelta.